I'm not gonna wait for people to get on. If people happen to jump on, great. If not, we'll go ahead and record day two. Day two was pretty challenging. It was worth us doing what we were doing. I had my A team out there, and my wife, both kids. Kids got up, made the signs. Well, my kids are grown, uh, 19 and 21. Um, but out there as a family, when we got to the police station, we did not know that the police department was doing a support the police rally, which was extremely uncomfortable. So, what we ended up finding out was number one, it was hot. It was about 200 degrees out there. And um, it's always a constant experience. You're constantly learning something because you'll have people who people will come up and they want to help. They'll ask, if you want water, or they'll try to buy you food. We had somebody try to give us money. Um, just a couple of things. As a protester, I personally don't like people walking up to me or my family that I don't know. That's not the time that I really want to have a spirited conversation because you don't know what's on people's minds. So as people are, they're kind of afraid about protesters getting crazy. Well, the protesters are afraid of people getting crazy. And we're down here in Texas, a lot of gun happy people. It's just really it doesn't make me comfortable because I am responsible for everybody that's with me. And it happens to be my wife and kids. So I'm really, really so if somebody's walking up to one of them, I have a completely different reaction to somebody walking up to me. So um, I came up with learning that I should accept water, Gatorade, from people because they always say it's better to give than to receive. Um, and what I'm learning is people want to be part of the process. Some of them don't know how. Some of them don't know where to go. They don't. Some of them are afraid. A lot of them are afraid, and to not allow them to assist in some way, either nourishing the people who are protesting. That's a role. When you don't allow them to do that, that disconnects them from the process. So I will not accept money. I told my family, do not accept money. Um, and which is another reason why you need to watch who you're protesting with, because people have to listen and they have to keep the mission of the protest at paramount. Paramount. So you got to watch who you want to provide. A lot of people want to be around a lot of people, but you don't know where something's going to jump off when you do that. But we do want to connect people to what we're doing, and a lot of people are supportive of what we're doing. And that's not us. That's period. People who are standing up, people who are protesting, they are supportive of it. But it's such a taboo thing that people are hesitant to engage. It was not comfortable protesting right across the street. A single lane or a double lane street from the police, where they're doing honk if you love the police, and we're protesting against police violence. Now, what I learned, and that's what I'm going to lock this video up with and end this video with that situation, is they did everything they could to try to communicate to us that they were not against us. But in a conflict, there are two sides. And what they were so caught in their perspective that one of them were affiliated with the police department, and that was paramount to them. So they wanted to talk about that. They didn't have a problem with what we were talking about, or not enough to stop us. But what they didn't understand is if you are promoting police activity, honk if you love the police station, that's saying, in essence, encourage us in what we're doing. We're saying we don't want to encourage you in what you're doing because what you're doing is killing us. So it doesn't matter if you're offering me water or if you're trying to be non-aggressive toward me. You're functioning against my well-being by supporting the police as they currently function. If you support me, there's no reason for any of us to be out here. Because if we realign how police interact with everyone, you don't have to worry about somebody not liking police officers or having to pump up the police station, because the problem is now gone. They have gotten in a position as to where they are no longer hurting people, which is what's bringing down the image that you're out here to build up. If you support me, both of us could be at home. But if we keep the status quo, which is what you are promoting, I still have to be out here. And as long as I'm out here, you guys are in more danger, because these officers that are doing this is making it dangerous for the officers that's not. It's not the protesters. I was very proud that when I went to, my son said that he did not want to leave until they left. We stayed out there 4 hours, and they were sitting under a tree in chairs. We were actually marching the length of the police department, which is about a football field and a half, for 4 hours in the sun. And Tracy was dedicated. So I encourage everybody to do something. Make signs, talk to people, get out, if that's your thing. But I've talked to some people that I know and I respect, and I asked them, what are you doing? And they said, I'm doing what I always do. I'm speaking about injustice as it comes up, and, educating people. And okay, well, if that's what you always do, then in this climate, elevate what you're doing. Don't just keep doing the same thing no matter what. I think I said before, I really don't like when something happens and somebody says, somebody close to you says, I'm going to pray for you. Well, if you're close to me, you're supposed to be praying for me anyway. I need you to elevate what you're doing. You're going to keep doing what you always was doing. Well, under your prayer, this happened. So now we're going to have to elevate. I may need you to come by. I may need you to hold my hand or bring me some water or something. So right now, everything has elevated. It's been the perfect time for this to hit. Now it is unfortunately in vogue to support the cause of righteousness, to support the cause of liberation, to support the cause of equality. It is in style. Everybody that is doing this or participating is not doing it because they have an intuitive connection to the suffering of American people. And that's another thing I don't get. And please leave in the comments to educate me on this, especially white people. I'm seeing people waving the American flag. And another thing, big ups to the NFL. I've now watched the NFL since 2016. They have admitted that they were wrong in how they responded to Colin Kaepernick and the protests with all the players. Big ups to the NFL. I don't know if I'm going to watch the NFL, but I will not overtly not support the NFL. Now, I do want to see if their actions align with their apology. I want to see some works, not just, my bad. Because no, my bad is not enough. You gotta do more. But I know I'm jumping around. It was a very long day. Try to communicate with people. It is very, very hard in doing this, though. Oh, I know what I was saying. In communicating with people. Leave me this answer. Why is it that instead of listening to what the people who are being hurt are saying is going on, it seems like people are giving their version. Hi, Aunt Susan. They're giving their version of what's happening. I was having a Masonic conversation today where, and this was outside of the Prince Hall Masons. These were your four-letter or white Masonic lodges. And they were constructive conversations, but instead of listening to the narrative of what's going on, hi Rashonda, what's going on in our communities, they're giving us their version of what's going on in our communities. I'll end this with this. Before the 13th Amendment, there's a national poll of white people, and it was being asked, do they feel that black people should be freed? And they said, no, black people should not be freed. They said, you want to know why? They said, because they sing when they're working and they are building families. So if they weren't happy, they wouldn't be doing those things. That is what they thought pre-1865. After 1865, they did another one. And they said, hey, what do you think? And they said, of course they're happy. Now they said, are they happy? Are they being treated fairly? First it was, should we free? And then it was, are they being treated fairly? They said, of course they are being treated fairly. They said, because they're free. Now, this was despite convict leasing and all those things. Subsequent every 50 years, 80% of white people said that black people were being treated fairly. That's through Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. That's through Brown versus Board of Education, the Civil Rights Movement, and thereafter. The question is, if historically, per the documentation of white society, that white society has never been accurate. Because if you look back at it, most white people today agree that in 1865, that 80% of the white race was wrong. That no, they should have freed black folks. And in after 1865, of course they weren't happy. People were free, but per Frederick Douglass, they were free to the winds and rains of heaven. They were not given any land to cultivate or any food to eat, or they weren't given any economic floor when they were free. Plessy versus Ferguson obviously was overturned. Separate and equal is not right. Brown versus Board of Education is something we wouldn't even have to think about today. Civil rights movement and so on. So every white person today would look back and easily disagree with 80% of white people of the time. So even when we're having these conversations today, why is it that white people think their narrative as the majority today is right when historically they have not had a good record of having a pulse of what's going on racially in this country? I really would love to be educated on that, not what you think. That dynamic. If white people are looking back in each part of history and see clearly where in that day white people had not a good connection or understanding of the situations and circumstances going on with the black community, why do they think they have it now? To the point that when we tell them what's going on in our community, they tell us their version. I had a brother telling me, well, the police need to be able to use the chokehold because if not, they would just have to use more lethal things. Okay, what you're not hearing is the chokehold is being used for fun. It's not being used in situations that are, totally, we got to get control of this guy. They said, well, these people are repeat offenders. I'm not a repeat offender. I'm not an offender. And I have had that happen to me in Chicago. I've had it happen to me in Gary, Indiana. So that's what we're telling you. They want to limit the conversation to that tape. They want to act like the killings that happened when Colin Kaepernick kneeled in 2016, that didn't happen. All of the other killings, the Trayvon Martin, that didn't happen. The baby that got shot, literally the baby that got shot in the park in 2016, that didn't happen. We want to talk about George Floyd, and George Floyd was a repeat offender. Why, at what point do you care about something outside of your value system, outside of your perspective? Though I guess I already went on a rant, didn't want to. But today was a very hard day. It was 4 hours. It was hot. What I learned, the biggest thing today was you have to allow people to give us water. We have to accept the Gatorade. Now, what I do is I tell my family, if it doesn't click when you turn it, don't drink it. And before you drink it, hold it a while and see if it's leaking. I mean, people are strange. I don't know if people put needles in something or whatever, but we do have to connect them to what's going on. I encourage you to do whatever you can do and however you're comfortable doing it. Try to do as much as you can. Educate each other, educate yourself daily. I forgot one thing. Missy, I haven't seen you in a long time. How have you been? Great to see you. Um, one thing that I really, really wanted to uh, point out that I've learned is that so many people mean well. So many people mean well. Being out there is really, really different because you are scared. They're gun crazy in Texas. Anything can happen, and it cannot be taken back. So taking your family out there is very, very serious. Um, but a lot of people mean well. And the police officers that they weren't protesting, but they were holding a pro-police rally. Um, hey, Genesis. Sinclair, how you doing, my man? Oh, we got a police officer on here. God bless you, brother. Sinclair is one of the police officers that took time to educate me to let me know that all police officers, that I have to judge each police officer differently. So that's part of one of the people who qualified me to be out there protesting, because I know for a fact that it's some good police officers, Sinclair Harley being one of them. Thank you for being on here. But in their hearts, they were promoting the police department and did not understand. And they went out of their way. They offered us water. They tried to strike up conversation that's convenient, and without an understanding that they're promoting the police department as it stands, is against what we're trying to do. And they were trying to show us that they meant us no harm, that they quote unquote supported us. But in a conflict means two sides disagree. There is no conflict if you agree with both sides. And what needs to be understood, or what I would like more information on, so again, any of my white brothers and sisters, please educate me on this. With them trying to promote, or my law enforcement brothers and sisters, because if you're trying to promote, honk if you love the police department, you're saying confirm that we're doing a good job. I'm saying if you keep doing what you're doing, I die. You're saying keep doing what you're doing. If you support me, neither one of us have to be out here. Because if we are okay, there is no harm coming to police. Because historically, black people haven't done stuff to the police. That's just a fact. Historically, the police have been used to be the discipline for our cultural agendas and economic agendas, period. That's just the fact. So I just don't understand how so many people can be so tone deaf. It's almost like the Drew Brees thing, as to where we see through our eyes in our particular perspective, and that's it. And just listen. If you're a police officer, been a police officer for a long time, there's stuff you don't see. I've been a black man for a long time. I know it's stuff that I don't see. So I need, when I listen to other cultures, spending time on Native American reservations woke me up. So I had to listen. When I was told that black people disproportionately advanced because of the hardships of Native Americans, I had to take that in. I couldn't sit there and start talking about, well, when my people were enslaved, we did. No, that's not what we're talking about. They said, do you own a house today? Yes, that's on stolen land. That land was ours.
What school did you go to? I went to this school. That school is built on land that was stolen from us. Point blank, eat it. And I had to. So again, every day we go out there, it's learning. And right now, this is the first time since the 60s I've seen this social awakening. Unfortunately, it'll pass. As soon as it's a movement, it's going to move. And those who benefit from things being separated and categorized, and I mean, you can go back to Bacon's Rebellion in 1676, where that started in North America. They're going to pull it back, just like they did with affirmative action and any other legislation. 13th Amendment, they turned that into a different enslaving method. They're going to pull this back. The only question is, how far can we push it forward where we can lose enough to have still gained? Because there's going to be a change, because those in the power structure just want the problems to stop. They don't care. They just want it to stop so we can get back to status quo. So, and right now, the police officers that are being charged, they're under a pressure that this is not something the United States can cover up. If justice is not served consistent with the United States law, the entire world is going to react. Again, this is a much longer video than I intended. Day 2 was extremely hard. Thank you all for looking.